In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the FireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com today. The FireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatefabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.com.
Welcome to Sons of the Flag Radio, brought to you by Fire Engineering Blog Talk Radio. We got another great episode tonight. I'm super excited to be able to join you guys with two of my favorite people in this world, the ever so wonderful Zachary Sutterfield and, the pretty amazing and talented IT web.
I appreciate that.
What are those sweet words you can say about somebody who's really badass on computers? Landon.
People keep bigging up my name, and then people are going to realize what I really do, and they're just going to be so disappointed.
Yeah. Landon's skilled in many areas, so I'm always happy to see you guys. It's always super cool to be able just to sit and chit-chat with you guys. But again, a little quick about Sons of the Flag Radio. I appreciate you guys joining us. We've been around since 2012. We were originally started to kind of help one burn survivor, and we've grown into this amazing monstrosity of a charity that has just kind of reached all ends of the United States now. We're definitely at the forefront of helping advance burn technologies and advancements in surgical procedures. And then we continually try to address the needs for every age group, ethnicity, and also every geographic location. Like I said, we're all over the United States. So, we continue to partner with some amazing individuals, some amazing facilities throughout the United States, UT Southwestern and Parkland here in Dallas. Without them and their continued research and support, man, I don't know where we would be. I know Dr. Levy and his entire team are just absolutely phenomenal. And from the bottom of my heart, and I know all of us at Sons of the Flag, we're truly grateful for everything that they do. But John Hopkins Burn Center in Baltimore, Maryland, DuPont in Wilmington, Delaware, Brigham Women's Hospital at Harvard University in Boston, and then Legacy Burn Center in Portland, and then the University of South Florida and the Tampa General Burn Unit in Bay Pines, Florida. So, and then obviously the Brooke Army Medical Center down in San Antonio. So we've got a lot of great resources and great pieces to this phenomenal organization. And I always never want to forget to mention our task force members. They're the heart and soul of this organization. And so they are truly our boots on the ground, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit later. But if you're ever interested in joining this organization, sonsoftheflag.org is where you can look up the information, and then obviously find us on all social media. But as we do with every show, we want to start off and just kind of honor our fallen brothers and sisters since our last episode. So if you just take a moment with me, we'll pause for it, and then we'll also just take a moment to recognize our fallen law enforcement and fallen military veterans since our last show. Cade Bodie, Leon Davis, Tony Garrison, Chad Satcher, Scott Glass, Garrett Miller, Robert Sharkovich, Marcelo Garcia III, John Walsh, Stephen Pavetti, Johnny Goins, and Henry Sardina III. Let's all take a moment of silence for him. All right. We're at the end of 24. It's been another phenomenal year for us. We thought tonight's show would be perfect to kind of just visit with all of us and just kind of talk about this past year, the successes that we've had. and then what's kind of looking for us kind of going into the future in 25. Again, we're still hot and heavy. We're still rocking and rolling along. And this organization is, I'm telling you, it is just continuing to grow. And so with all of our continued, sponsors and partnerships that we have, again, we wouldn't be who we are without you all. So I truly thank everybody for taking the time, and obviously the monetary donations to keep this organization afloat. But most importantly, the time. There's a lot of time that goes into these organizations. And so to recognize everybody that's kind of behind the scenes that's gotten us where we are is huge. And, truly thankful for Bird and the entire group going forward. It's super exciting. And again, I'm proud of this organization. I'm proud to be with these two guys right here. DJ, I know she's never on the camera, but maybe we can have DJ on the camera one day, because
she was behind the camera. She was behind the camera after Stars and Stripes, doing a little bit of interviewing. Man, she was rocking and rolling, dude. It was great.
She was kicking butt.
When
DJ is awesome for it. So
when you get them two in the room together and they start bouncing back and forth about,
oh God,
the fire safety, and her wealth of knowledge is just impeccable. And I'm looking forward to 2025 and it being utilized exponentially more.
She's Mama Bear.
Oh my goodness,
she's Mama Bear.
Yeah, you want stuff done. You want someone ass chewed and get stuff in alignment. It's a DJ.
Let's go.
You talk about ass chewings. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Dude, I don't envy you, man. I can only imagine. She's an amazing woman, and I love her passion. And I mean, and she tells it like it is, and that's a quality I think most people lack. They beat around the bush and sugarcoat it. And I love DJ for it. And again, Zach, I don't envy you ever having to grow up and I hear about y'all's drives when y'all come to Dallas. So
yeah. It's awesome.
On that. So
no, she's a firecracker, and she's as hardworking as she is stubborn. And I think that says a lot about her. She's an incredible.
Well, just to jump into what we recorded a little bit. So one of the reasons that we did the recordings in September, we went out to Austin. And Zach, do you want to kind of go into what you did out there?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to work alongside two incredible athletes at the University of Texas in Austin, and kind of go over some fire safety stuff that I think is really important, especially when you're a young adult living either on campus or off campus. This is an off-campus apartment, so we talked about all the things that I feel like through my life and through the burden of my journey, I've become somewhat of a field matter expert. I'm not going to say I'm as good as Bemis or anything. But,
no.
We got to work with
I know he gave us compliments. Don't give him too many, though.
Yeah.
We got to work alongside them and create what we're hoping to be a pretty special, I don't want to give it away, but a pretty special project. It's very exciting.
It's going to be called the Zach Attack, and the goal behind it is for Zach to go into places and teach firsthand and on the ground fire safety and fire safety tips that are extremely valuable. And one of the things that I've gotten from going back through the video, and it's going to be dropping hopefully by the end of the year. The editing's on me, so I'm trying to just get that worked out. We did our last wrap-ups after Stars and Stripes in November, and we really touched on a lot of key topics and stuff that people might not understand about fire safety, whether it's the lithium batteries, whether it's the plugs, whether it's making sure that you fire exits. How do you train for the fire exit? How do you mimic being in that black smoke with your children, and making something educational and fun, making something that's very serious, educational and fun for your kids that could possibly save their lives. And really, when Zach was touching on all that, I think it's going to be super important for people to hear. And the coolest thing about it, even though it's going to be a long video, we're going to be able to chop it up and use bits and pieces, because you segment out that information. It really makes a nice punch.
Yeah. And knowing you, Landon, I know it's just going to be perfect. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful.
Perfecto.
It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something.
No, and I think these programs are huge, man. I'm a big advocate for community risk reduction programs. I think, we can't be just enforcers. We got to be educators in the fire service. And I will say, I think a lot of firemen do get into the fire service and they do have a passion, and that's what we want to do. We want to help, but help also is on the preventative and the early mitigation side of things. And so, I think Zach going around and truly bringing this awareness, starting on the college campus. I mean, because your incident was on a college campus, right? I mean, it occurred right outside. And
well, these are young adults too, who may be living on their own for the first time, who don't know. I love to say you get fire education once in 5th grade, and that's kind of it. And so retouching and re-educating them on that kind of stuff is super duper important.
Yeah, I mean, and think about people moving in, renting houses. Are they really truly up to code? There's a lot of things that we got to ask, and it's good to be able to provide people the information. Again, not just college students; it might be just young adults moving out, getting that apartment or getting that that house on their own. Some of the things to really kind of look forward to. Again, I think this message is going to truly help the fire service. Just talking with Chief Stevens and just all the stuff that we're able to really start addressing, and what they've done down in San Marcos, it's truly phenomenal. And we can be aggressive, but we can also be aggressive in community safety and making sure that all of our number one priority is that our community is continually safe at all times. And so I think it's phenomenal when the public sector interacts with us, when you guys are able to kind of help us sell a message, and then we can kind of help reinforce that message. And so I think it's a great thing what you guys are doing. And I think it needs to hit these high schools and gear these kids up to when they do go to college or when they do move off. So I think it's going to be a badass thing that you guys are building. They don't want me involved in this process, which I wouldn't blame them either. They might need the knuckle dragon, mouth breathing fireman as like an example for something. But
Mr. Man with a master's over here. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean where it came from.
Just a master of knuckle dragon.
It's just masters is even misspelled. You don't know that.
I
could have made it myself.
Fair enough. Well, and that's something that can be really exciting about this is the growth of getting other people involved. And, we have Zach's voice on there, for the very first one. And if we do get another one, it'd be great to have, firefighters from the community come out and be a part of it and make more of an event out of something along these lines where we can get opinions from people who are on it firsthand every single day and what it really means to, because like Zach says multiple times throughout the edit is, you can contact your fire department. You can contact these people to help you, with the drop-in ladder, testing your smoke detector, and communicate with them. These are people who are here to work with the society and approach them respectfully and, with an open heart and an open mind. And you never know the type of knowledge that you're going to be able to equip yourself with.
And every firefighter I've ever met has just kind of relay that message of, hey, if it makes our job easier, if the general populace knows how to hook up a smoke detector, even if they have to call us, we'll make sure that stuff's situated. Like, I love our firefighters. They're hardworking civil servants and I'm just speaking from my own perspective here. Every time I've met a firefighter, they want to make the world a little bit safer. And, sometimes that looks like putting the wet stuff on the red stuff. And a lot more of the time, it looks like community engagement and working with, young people, old people, everyone alike.
And I think it's great because, we're in Texas, you're out West Texas, Landon and I are here in North Texas, and everything that's occurring in this region, especially in North Texas, is just rapidly developing, right? We have communities coming in, we have businesses coming in, and the cities and these developers and the fire departments are experiencing something that I guess it's never been seen across the country to this extent. And I've noticed, when the cities and the fire departments come together and have these conversations with these developers are trying to find every possible shortcut. And that shortcut is typically going to be centered around fire safety because it's technically not aesthetically pleasing. It's too expensive, and they don't want to put that forward. And that's where I think it's important that not just fire personnel, but city officials see this. Our elected officials get behind these initiatives because that's where the real change is. Because somebody's going to have to stand up to these developers and be like, listen up, we're tired of your shit. Okay. We have a code in the city for a reason. We need you to follow this code. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. We're doing it because it is 100% behind our initiative of public safety. That's the frustrating thing right now is that cities are getting bombarded by these developers, and they come in here and they have all this money and they try to strong arm the city and the fire department. I'm thankful, the city and the department that I work for, we've got a very strong group of guys in prevention, and they're headstrong. And if you're not going to push anything over on them, and I think that they truly take the importance of fire safety to the next level. And it's not to get more money out of the project. It's to ensure that we as firefighters are safe to get in to help these civilians.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sprinkler systems and all this stuff is important for civilians, but what happens when firefighters can't get in?
Yes.
The situation never gets better. It just makes it worse. But by God, it was pleasing and easy on the eyes. Well, that doesn't work well when somebody's family member dies or is incapacitated or, have life-altering issues. So I think it's big for these developers and everybody to get on board and understand that
Stop cutting
your
the corners.
pushing, Zach, is the real deal. Like we can't cut corners anymore.
Those fire sprinkler systems may be expensive, but I'll tell you what, a hospital bill after 18 months, I guarantee it's more expensive.
That's the thing is there's a lack of liability and culpability and a lot of culpability in it. I mean, you have these people who aesthetically it doesn't look good, so we're not going to put the money into it, or maybe it takes up too much room or it's too expensive. But they're not on the hook for what happens to people on their premises often, and they have the insurance back, and it's like it's what a lot of corporations do. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, everybody knows what's recently happened with the United Health deal and that guy and stuff like that. But it's and then not what Blue Cross Blue Shield and whatever came out and said they weren't going to cover anesthesia for
for the entirety of a surgery.
Yeah. They turned suit on that pretty fucking quick.
They really did, yeah.
But it's like the fact that was even a thought. The fact that those things are being mulled, those things are being mulled over in a boardroom somewhere. Mm-hmm. Whether it's at the top or smaller organizations, these places. When it comes to personal care, it's bottom line over personal safety all the time. And it's a shame. And unfortunately, Zach, you're unfortunately and fortunately, you're able to do something with what happened and spread this message and tell them, stop dicking around.
I'd love for a developer to look me in the eyes and tell me that a fire sprinkler is too expensive. If you can live with yourself and look me, a burn survivor, in the eyes and say it's too expensive, okay, that's fine. But I know the truth, and I know that it may be expensive for you, but it may save someone's life.
Just make sure that we have a camera and a mic on you at the same time, because we will make them fucking Instagram famous super quick.
But let's be aware.
Yeah.
If we had that conversation, they're staring Zach in the eyes. How do you not fall in love with the guy?
That's true.
Hey,
beautiful.
Hey, yeah.
Hey man, I got to sit at Twin Peaks and have a beer with him, and I was staring at him more than I was staring at the pretty ladies around. It was just difficult.
Oh, I don't think my phone works. It must be one of those bad signal days. My bad. I'll give it to you next time. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, we'll have to go where the servers aren't my old high school friends next time.
Is this in San Angelo?
This is in San Angelo, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I wasn't there, so we're good.
I think we had a good time, though. We had a
great
that's
time.
Awesome.
It was a 8.5, yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
So we have a holiday. It's strange to call it a holiday, a Remembrance Day coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's. I was getting stuff ready for social media. Putting out some stories out there about different heroes, and of course, with Sons, you always want to look into what happened with firefighters, and that being such a devastating event. Pearl Harbor. I sent y'all an article, and I'd love to do some just like quick snippets of it if y'all are cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to make sure everybody knows, today is December 6th. So when we release this show, it'll be next Tuesday. So that way, if we're recording, if you see it thinking it's Monday, we're recording this, we're not that ignorant. We know that it's specific day. So we just got to clear it up.
Nice save. Yeah, that was a nice save.
Tomorrow
I know firemen
December
would be like, they use the wrong day,
This will release on December 10th, so we're a little bit behind, but it's still still reason to remember. And well, I was you always hear about the naval forces and sometimes the civilians out there, but I haven't heard a lot of stories about police or fire, which obviously were involved. And when I started reading and hearing, because let's be serious, the Japanese were indiscriminate in their attack. You can go online and see pictures of people who were driving their vehicles and just strafed, and people who were trying to put out the destruction that they have done were also targets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You sent this article and I'm glad you did. I mean, ironically enough, we are meeting today to have this discussion, and 9/11 was our Pearl Harbor, right? That's what we all kind of equated to. And we know what happened with the firefighters that day. We know we were able to visually see those buildings collapsing on those guys going in there, and not just the firefighters, but the cops, the EMTs, and just the remaining civilian heroes. That's and you start thinking about Pearl Harbor, and we know what happened, right? The old, Battleship Row taken out. But until Landon sent this article, I'd never even thought about this part of the story.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, and it really goes into detail about the fire department response that day. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch, dude. All I ever think about with Pearl Harbor is FDR and then us going over there and beating the dog shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
You don't think about the actions that really happen on the ground. And so, I started thinking about some of the events going on right now, like the Israel issue. Firefighters over there, Ukraine, firefighters, what they've had been dealing with. And it really kind of put it back into perspective, man. And reading this story, it really hit me because they never stopped, no matter what.
No.
And they were under the first barrage went through, right? But 2 more rounds came through. And just going through the article, they would seek shelter, come back out, get the job. Seek shelter, come back out, really finish the job.
Yeah.
And they were at minimal resources. I mean, you're on an island. First off, Hawaii is not like it is today, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of resources and the amount of the technology, the equipment these guys had, and I think one of the lines in there, they were talking about they didn't even have master stream devices, right? They had to fight these aircraft fuel fires in the aircraft hangars with 1.5-inch lines. That's insanity. That's absolute insanity. You've just been completely annihilated, and they're using 1.5-inch lines to fight these massive ass fires. And then they're talking about how they're having to use towels to plug the radiator hoses up because the engines took such a hit too. And I'm just sitting there, the amount of odds that those guys had to overcome during that entire operation is unheard of. And the fact that each one of them kept getting back up and said, I will continue. I will continue. And then finally, I think after the third barrage, they finally had an army of civilians there to help out too. Yeah. That just, again, goes back to 9/11. It shows the true testament of the American fighting spirit, right?
Yeah.
We have that will. And that's what I love about Americans the most is that we have that innate, that mindset that we're going to help no matter what, whether you're a public servant or not. You see somebody struggling, most Americans are going to stand up and pick that person up, and we're going to fight alongside you. And I think reading that story right there, I wish they'd make a movie about that. Pearl Harbor, great documentary. I think it was a good movie. You know, Josh Hartnett, we all love him, right? But
I could do without Ben Affleck.
Yeah, we all could. But I think making a movie or documentary about this, if there's one out there, I would love to know. And I'll probably do some research tonight to find out. But this story is amazing.
Well, and so real quick, the article that we were talking about is from firehouse.com, operations training. It is called Fire History, December 7th, 1941, A Day of Infamy and Fire. Paul Hashigan looks back at the bravery of firefighters who fought blazes and saved lives during the attack on Pearl Harbor. And that's the author. There's an excerpt at the bottom, just in case y'all want a little bit more information. Author's note: the majority of the information in this article is from two sources. History of the Honolulu Fire Department by Chief H.A. Smith, privately printed in 1950, and December 7, 1941, the day the Honolulu Fire Department went to war, by Professor John E. Bowen of the University of Hawaii. So those two books is where this information is grabbed from. So if you're interested in finding out more of those, check out the history of the fire department, history of the Honolulu Fire Department, and December 7th, 1941, the day the Honolulu Fire Department went to war. So I just want to start this off, read a few paragraphs, and then Bemis, you can jump in and read some ones that you're interested in. But just to kind of set the scene. Sunday morning, 0800 hours in Hawaii. The day shift was starting in Honolulu firehouses on December 7th, 1941. The sun was shining. The palms were swaying. Another day in paradise. Lieutenant Frederick Kiloa answered the ringing telephone in the quarters of Engine 6. He quickly sounded the house gong. Engine 6, first due at Hickman Field, was going to war. At the same time, off-duty fireman Anthony Lopez was on his way to church when a low-flying plane with rising sun insignias flashed by. He thought it was all part of another practice exercise. There had been many the past several months. Later during the service, he heard the sirens of fire apparatus pass the church. A short while later, more rigs screamed by. He knew it was the second alarm, a big fire. He left church and headed home to grab his gear. On his car radio, the music turned to news. It was an attack. Enemy planes were attacking Oahu. I definitely said that wrong. Planes were bombing Pearl Harbor. Then the radio went dead.
That's Oahu.
That's where I was born.
Oh,
yep.
There we go. As the Engine 6 raced to the airfield, the firefighters on the back step could see towering columns of roiling smoke with flames leaping hundreds of feet into the clear blue sky. Also in the sky were puffs of black smoke, anti-aircraft shells bursting in the distance as American military forces tried to fight back. The frequency of anti-aircraft fire slowed, causing the firefighters to think the attack may be over. The engine pressed on through the sea of parked cars and staring civilians cluttering the small two-lane road. Drivers pulled over to watch the panorama of war as a panorama of war blossomed before their eyes. Now just imagine that. You're going to church early in the morning and you're a firefighter and you hear those. And it really rings, like you said, with 9/11. He heard those and he knew something was off and immediately got up, went to go get his gear and get into the fight. I can't imagine something so beautiful suddenly turning into something so horrendous.
Yeah, and obviously, when you arrive, I think they start talking about the gas lines hit and just the pure magnitude of destruction that he's witnessing. The black columns of smoke, the fire, and then not to mention you have our military heroes scattered across the airfield, wounded, killed. Mm-hmm. It's just pure hell, and that's where, again, as firefighters, I think we can all speak to it. That's where we get in. It's time to get to work, right? Mm-hmm. And then not long after they got there, the second wave started, and they were trying to initially stretch lines, get their apparatus placed. But one of the things that I think it's important to know, and this is where I love the ingenuity of firemen. This is where when we've been pushed against the wall, there's no other way. We're going to find a way. And it's a testament to, I think, the military, the SEALs, all those guys. We're going to find a way. And they start talking about how the bombs leveled the water towers and knocked all the hydrants out of service. And so with all the hydrants out of service, now we've lost water supply and the ability to start extinguishing these fires, right? So they're going to burn unchecked until we can do something else. Well, one of the bombs made a crater in the ground, and lo and behold, firemen started drafting out of the crater in the ground that was rapidly filling up with water. So no hydrant, we'll make do. We'll find a way. And I think that's huge to really talk about, is that, when it was, we had nothing left for us, they were able to find a way. And they had gotten everything set up. And then the third wave, which was a much shorter wave, came in. And what I saw down here, it said five two-piece companies were on scene, and they had now depleted manning due to deaths and injuries. Two of the captains were killed by a bomb that came through an aircraft hangar, killed both of them. And so the resources that they have, it's just dwindling. Obviously, it talks about they did an all call to have everybody come in, but to fight with limited water source and using 1.5-inch hose lines on these aircraft fueled fires. And
you're doing, and they were doing it during a multi-wave attack. So just when they felt like they got a reprieve, just when they felt like they had, made a dent, just came back over them, swamping them with fire. And once again, the third attack. And, I can't imagine being in that sort of environment where you have the stress of trying to do your job and trying to save these lives while you have these gnats buzzing over your head, dropping bombs and shelling and just, ripping your guys apart.
But deciding to continue to fight, we talk about the human spirit. That's one of those cases where you're doing what's best for the people around you because they need you, and you're relying on each other in what would be the hardest moment of your life. Bombs are coming down, things are on fire, and you're still choosing, in my opinion, the most heroic action, helping your fellow neighbor, your people that need you.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder if there's got to be a memorial out there for the firefighters and stuff, and I'd love to do some more research on it. And there's certainly more stories. Those two books certainly have more stories in them about it.
They got a line right here. When the third rate attack commenced, it says that they are running for their lives, machine guns and bullets snapping at their heels as the firemen dove for cover. I even started thinking about to 2020 when we started having this massive rise of this social injustice, and these firefighters are having to go to these cities like Minneapolis and whatnot, and they're being shot at the whole time, right? I thank God that I've never had to be in these situations, right? But I do think the strongest people are put in those situations for that reason, right? Because he needs the strongest individuals to be in those spots, in those situations. And so I don't know. I know what I would do. I would do what these guys did. But in my mind, how do you regroup, reset, refocus, pause, go try to survive, regroup, refocus, go do it again. And then finally, after that last attack, three large pumpers, they had 3 pumpers drop hard suctions, and they really started getting after it. You've been annihilated. Your crew members are being killed. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. And now all of a sudden, hey, we're going back to work, just like 9/11. Yeah. FDNY, those buildings came down. They didn't run and hide.
No.
Like, hey, kiss my ass. I'm going in there. I'm getting after it. There's people that need to live.
After 2 reprieves, can you imagine just in their head, they're like, another one's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I was just going to say that,
What's
not knowing if there's a next one coming, but still choosing to fight that fight.
Kind of like knowing that you're out in the open.
Yeah. While machine gun bullets are clipping at your heels, like it said in there. Yeah. And choosing to do what is the most heroic thing is help your neighbor, help the people, do with this. And there is such a stark comparison between that and 9/11, just hearing the stories of firefighters who were helping everybody that they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a fascinating, like, you hear about it and people going into battle and stuff like that. And I've never been anywhere near a scenario uh, that extreme. And the part of the masculine part of you make you want to go, I'm going to do this, and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But without that training and insight, you're a sitting duck. And the fact that Bird talks about the training kicking in, and to bring it back to fire prevention and training and stuff like that, really drilling it into your head that these scenarios can happen to you, and how much that understanding and that knowledge can change the outcome of the scenario so massively if you just have that understanding and that little bit of training.
I mean, yeah. How do you prevent the tunnel vision? We get it. We train on the stuff that we train on in order to prevent the tunnel vision from occurring. But again, how do you really overcome that problem when you've been hit multiple times? Eventually, like you said, what's next? All right, take me. I'm done. I don't know. But I love the fact that the 6 injured and the 3 that were killed were the only civilian firefighters ever awarded the Purple Heart from the U.S. military.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. It's absolutely amazing.
Heroin.
And the fact that the military was able to recognize that the heroism that they displayed that day speaks volumes. I mean, I think it took 3 years for the 6 injured ones to be recognized, and then not till 1984 were the 3 that were killed recognized. And it's unfortunate it took that long, but it happened. And that's what I'm excited about. And again, I'm with you, Landon. I would love to see a memorial. Like at Gettysburg, they have the memorial for the volunteer, the New York, I think it's the New York volunteer firefighters and the New York Army. They have a statue that's a firefighter and a soldier, like standing there linked up together. So the volunteer firefighters have their place in Gettysburg history. And I'm curious to see what kind of
and I'm
memorial.
I'm sure there's something, but it is fascinating. Like you mentioned, the civilians that hopped, the civilian firefighters that hopped in, and I mean, I was reading some of the stories about because I wanted to post some heroes from Pearl Harbor as well, and it's talking about the guys that were on the ships and they get hit, and some of the stoicisms that they had to really lead their men off the ship. And one gentleman didn't leave until everybody else was off. I mean, he helped put out the fires on the ship, and he made sure that everybody else was off. Another gentleman was in the boiler room and made sure everybody got out, but you had to, I can't remember what it was, but you had to shut off certain things or else the boiler would explode. Mm-hmm. And he stayed down there to make sure that it stayed shut, and ended up going down with the ship. But because of that, he made sure it didn't explode, and everybody who could get off got off. Where if it would have exploded, it would have just taken 1,000 plus with them, and can't even imagine the damage it would have done around them.
Well, it's like the scripture says, no greater love than to lay yourself down, right? And that's I think of the story of Mikey Mansour, that I've heard from, Bird and other SEALs that are out there. That service, above self, and it's huge. And you can always say, what would I do in that situation? I would obviously think of my family this entire time as I'm going through it, and know that this is for them. This isn't just for everybody here. This is for the generations coming before. Because how many generations were saved by that one sacrifice? It's not just that day. It is the continuation that these families were able to see their loved ones, because that one individual said, not today. I got this. Y'all are going. I'm going home. I got this. And I think it's huge. And there's so many generations that were impacted because of that one selfless sacrifice. And again, these firefighters, all, the 3 that were killed and the 6 that were injured, that selfless sacrifice allowed others to continue on. They didn't have to. They didn't have to go there. They could have done like everybody else and turned tail and ran. Sat outside the fence, said, "Oh, this is a military thing. Military can handle their own problems." Like, no, this is us. This is a United States problem. This is an American problem.
To piggyback on you, I think that is what the American spirit is, right?
Yep.
Like, to lay down your life for your neighbors who are there just to be that to me just speaks to what it means to be an American. There is no one's asking you what your religious identity is, who you are, where you come from. It's, I got you. You are an American like me. Take cover.
Yeah.
And I think that just speaks to the strength of our nation in those moments. It's
all the way from the Revolutionary War to Martin Luther King. I mean, you could look all the way through history. Somebody had an impactful event in the life that truly impacted the course of American history. And these warriors impacted the course of American history as firefighters, sworn civilian firefighters, not military, but sworn civilians. And they had a massive impact on the way history went. Just think, like, to me, every individual that ever joins the military has an impact on the history of this great country. You're taking the oath to defend and swear, protect and defend the most beautiful country, the most beautiful constitution there is. And my uncle, who was killed in Vietnam, I never got to meet him, but he saved multiple lives that night by taking somebody's spot. And the guy's spot that he took, he now has lived his entire life full of guilt because my uncle is buried and he's still living in Florida. And Bill knows that we have always forgiven him. It is never his fault. We are so happy that Jimmy took his spot, that Jimmy was able to give his life that night for this country so that Bill could come back home and see his family. And Bill could grow up with his wife and his kids and now grandkids. It's a beautiful story. But yeah, it's at the cost of my uncle's life in Vietnam. But again, it's so that others may live. Just like in the fire service, when you hear about these guys making these aggressive rescues and aggressive interior attacks, and they get burned or they succumb to unfortunately, they succumb to injuries. It's not because they're reckless or ridiculous. It's because it's service above self. There's a greater cause. And that's why we all swear to wear that badge on our chest and why we all want to do this job. It's not for us. It's for those that we've sworn to protect. And the fire service is phenomenal that I think we have so many kick-ass and amazing individuals that are willing to stand up. And most of them do it for free. Let's remember that. 70% of the fire service is still volunteer-based.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's willing to volunteer their time and their own lives is huge, and possibly come out suffering first, second, or third degree burns, life-altering injuries, or even the potential of death. That to me, and I'm not trying to sit there and say that God bless those firemen, we're so awesome, thank you for doing that. I just think it's that mindset. Cops are the same way.
Well,
anybody who puts on that military uniform is the same way. They're willing to make the sacrifice for you, for them. And that's what I think we never can forget about Pearl Harbor or 9/11 or any of these other big-ass incidents that have occurred throughout American history and the world history.
Yeah.
There was somebody directly involved with it.
And I think it's important to, even note, what was going on in Seattle and Portland and all across the country in 2020 when people were rioting and burning down buildings and, just kind of losing their mind. It's like somebody else has to go in there and fix this stuff. You know why? Because if one building burns down, it's a domino effect. You're lighting stuff on fire and these people don't understand that it's a fucking domino effect. And now you've put the entire city or this entire neighborhood at risk for your ego and this self-righteousness that you believe you have. And, you want to demonstrate, fine, but whenever you're running up against this and you're causing this mayhem and havoc you're putting people in danger that so unnecessarily. And those, and I have a friend that I grew up with who was a Seattle police officer when everything was going on there. And unfortunately, he was in the precinct that they were trying to break through. I think it was in Seattle. And he has PTSD, like he had hardcore PTSD for a while. Cause he literally had this lynch mob outside that was ready to, drag them out. And they had done nothing, there was nothing that they had done, but that bizarre ideology just kind of runs into it. But we gotta keep, like y'all said, looking out for one another. It's really bizarre to think how divided that we've become, but how united we stand whenever certain things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No greater day in American history than September 12th.
Yeah.
I still believe that.
I think too that, there's so much to be said about community, but I think individualism kind of breeds this idea of not taking care of your neighbor, not being there for each other. And it's to the detriment of not only yourself, but everyone. And so being a part of your community, being able to help everyone, not like one of the reasons I love this job so much is that it is so fulfilling to do. It pours into my cup as I pour into others, and I think that is a lot of what I imagine, Beamus, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I imagine that that's what a lot of the fire service is pouring into others' cups, taking care of your neighbors, taking care of your loved ones. And I think on that day on Pearl Harbor, whether people were realizing it or not, they were making the active choice to get in the line of fire, to take care of their neighbors, to, do the hard work that needed to be done. And so it's very astounding. And I think it speaks very highly of what the American spirit is.
100%. Well, on that note, fellas, we're running at 45 minutes. So any final thoughts and anything along those lines? Got to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, I would, I'd like to just end the show. I'd like to recite the names of the 9 that were involved in Pearl Harbor and just end it there. I think it'd be a good way to kind of just head out, make sure their names are out there.
And everyone have a Merry Christmas and all that jazz. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to everybody. sonsoftheflag.org. Social media, look us up at Sons of the Flag. Zach, you got anything, brother?
Just be safe this holiday season. A lot of burn-related injuries happen around the Christmas time, so be safe. Remember that no matter how you try frying a turkey, it's still going to be dry, so just put it in the oven, please.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, I'm going to end this with the reading of the names. And again, I love you all. Love Sons of the Flag. I look forward to 2025 with you all. So thank you guys. Thank you, Fire Engineering and Blog Talk Radio, for always hosting us and being so gracious for us. We truly do appreciate you guys. So Purple Heart recipients: Captain Frederick Kealoha, Hosman George Correa, Hosman John Gilman, Hosman Moses Calciani, Hosman Patrick McCabe, and Hosman Solomon Nawal Jr. And then always remember and never forget Captain John Correa, Captain Thomas S. Macy, and Hosman Harry T.L. Payne.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, TheFireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit TheFireStore.com today. TheFireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatefabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit